So I've spent the last 24 hours watching every video, reading every article, and getting every bit of information about AI and AI music, and I'm exhausted. And why am I doing this? Why did I set out on this path? Well, it's because I don't know how I feel about AI music, and I wanted to get as many perspectives and as many views and as many pros and as many cons as I could and collect them all together in my brain. And I'll give you my conclusion at the end of the show. Hello, my name is Pete Johns. This is Studio Live Today, and more specifically, the Studio Live Today podcast, where each and every week we talk about a topic related to music. And there really isn't a more, hot topic. For want of a better word, than AI music, from your Sonos and your Udios to your AI mastering to AI voice generation to AI tools for creating music as we have now in Logic Pro for iPad. AI is everywhere. Is it just a reiteration of stuff we were already doing, or is it the revolution that the AI bros would like us to believe? That's what we're going to dive into in this show. If you would like to learn about creating, recording, and releasing music, you can find all the ways to interact with me and with Studio Live Today over on studiolivetoday.com, including the email newsletter, all the playlists to all the videos, and all the ways you can catch up with me on the socials, where I talk about AI not very much. But I am here in my AI neon pink room because I thought it was an appropriate background. If you're watching the video version, you can see that. If you're listening on audio, just imagine a futuristic yet retro-looking neon lit room with arcade games and old school TVs and couches. It looks very comfy. I wish it existed in real life, which is kind of how I feel about AI. I wish it existed in real life. It doesn't, but it kind of does. It's very, very confusing. So what is AI, artificial intelligence, as it relates to music? Well, the basic one that we're all sort of seeing at the moment is this generative AI music, where you punch in a prompt, you say, reggae song about teddy bears on the beach. And it's like, I was down Jamaica way. There was a teddy bear in my way. Yeah, it rhymes way with way because that's how AI rolls. So you get these songs. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it this week is that I'm having a tough time because I do a show called Your Music Live, which is an independent music show every week where I showcase people's music. Many of you watching this have either seen the show or maybe you've had your songs featured on the show, and thank you for coming along to that. It's a great time. These are independent artists that are creating music, and we share their awesome music with the world. But something happened recently, and that is that I'm now getting submissions where I listen to them and I'm like, something is not quite right here. And I jump down into the description, and if they're a reputable and someone that's doing the right thing, they've put something down there. They've put something along the lines of created with Udio, created with Sono, created with Flumiflom, created with V synthesizer voice, whatever it is. And I don't know how to feel about this. And I don't know whether I should be playing these songs, because to me, there is a difference between using AI to create music and AI creating music. And we'll discuss some of the intricacies and the details of that a little later. But as a basic general rule, I mean, I could fill a show with 40 songs that people just generated by typing in prompts. But is that really what we're looking for? Is that really showcasing great independent music and talent in the community? I don't think so. But if someone uses a voice synthesizer and then does an amazing arrangement and then just can't sing, so they use an AI voice synthesizer, is that wrong, quote unquote? I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm a fence sitter from way back. Before we dive into all the goods and the bads, we need to talk about the ethics of AI, of artificial intelligence. So ethical questions and questions of ethics have never really stopped progress, let's be honest. We've never stopped and went, well, this is actually destroying art, and this is actually using so much energy it could power like a small island off the coast of Jamaica. Why do I keep talking about Jamaica? Plus, Jamaica is an island, so need to find a new metaphor. But, yeah, can we really be in denial that things like artificial intelligence that are using, and if you don't know this, the way AI works, is it's not just some magic button that you press, that you grab your phone, you grab your laptop, and you press a button, and then AI does some magic. No, it sends it to a server which is a computer that's sitting somewhere in the world. It crunches an amazing amount of data, and it's whether it's generative AI, whether it's AI for text or music or art or video. It's very, very intensive. It uses a lot of power. Yes, we just got over the whole crypto thing that was using a whole lot of power to do this blockchain stuff that I still don't really understand. And now we're using it for AI, which at least is adding value to the world. And yeah, okay, we can talk about crypto another day. I know. I know there's people that are still fans of it. You do you, boo. You get involved in the blockchain, more power to you. But there's no denying that the amount of energy this is using is kind of wasteful. And we are living in a time where our climate is in crisis. And adding to that by using AI where we don't have to, we don't need to, it's not necessary because we can already do it by humans, we need to stop and think about that. And yes, I know, I'll put my hand up, lefty, hippie, socialist John's talking over here. But just think about the waste. If you want to look at it capitalistically, from a capitalist perspective, think about the waste from just an investment point of view, just paying for all of that additional power. None of these companies are actually making money. There's not a revenue or a business model around this. So if you want to be on the lefty, greeny side and say it's bad for the environment, I'd agree with you. If you want to go full hard on the right side and say it's bad for the economy, I agree with you. So is there any good to become of this? Can we turn this into something good? Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive in here. Is it new? Is all this stuff actually new? Is it revolutionary or is it evolutionary? Now, if you've been around technology for a while, AI and automation and robots and robotics and all this sort of stuff, it's been around since the 60s and 70s, and especially through the 80s and 90s, virtual reality and VR stuff, the AI, like microchips being able to process things, machine learning has been around on chips for a very long time. So it's not anything new. The fact that there's these neural processing engines that can actually take data and process them in a way like they're thinking, like they're artificially thinking, why do you think they're called neural engines or machine learning? We attach these human words to machines because we want that to be the future. Who doesn't want? Who's the Jetsons robot that does the vacuuming? Not Judy, not Jane, Rosie. Rosie? Who doesn't want a Rosie robot who can do all their bidding? But here's the problem. We're not using AI to get Rosie the robot to do all of our housework so we can have time to spend with our families and on our leisure activities. No, we're using AI to become productivity bros, to get more done, to schedule more meetings, to put artists and put creators out of work, to put call center workers out of work, because why pay a call center working human when you can just get an automated robot to answer those calls from customers? Am I feeling a little cynical? Yeah, I think you can probably tell that going in. So is it new? Not really. And by the way, this is going to be it. If you're hoping for a really succinct and well constructed argument about why AI is good, bad, or otherwise, no, because you know what happens when you watch and read articles and videos for 24 hours about AI? Yeah, you just go into this random stream of consciousness world where there's just so many things coming at you. So I got some bullet points. I'm going to be talking about those bullet points as we go. Is it any more than automation? Well, you could argue that generative AI, so the newer forms of fully generative AI, where they're creating something out of nothing, that is really a little bit more than automation. But I've always said that I would reframe and rephrase artificial intelligence as human-led automation, because they're not choosing to create it. I'm the one that has to say the song about the dog on the beach or whatever the heck I've said in my prompt before. It's not going to say, hey, I think you would like this. I mean, maybe it will. TikTok is using an AI or an algorithm. Are they any different? Can you say that that's different? Because what the TikTok algorithm does is it analyzes me, my watch history, my search history, what I'm interested in, and then it presents videos that align with those. So is that any different to an AI that's actually doing things like creating music out of prompts that I put in there? Is it all just using data and then spitting out a result and learning as it goes? So if something is learning your habits, is that artificial intelligence, or is that just some smart programming by a human that went, hey, if that guy watched 13 cat videos in a row, chances are if we feed up some more cat videos, he's probably going to watch them. What do you think? I'm interested in your opinions, by the way. If you would like to share your opinion, if you're watching the video version, there is a comment section down below. If you are listening on the audio version, hit me up. Convince me why AI is great or not great. All the social places and email addresses and everything is at studiolivetoday.com. And while you're there, if you're listening to the audio version, leave a review, leave a rating on your podcatcher of choice. Watching the video, thumbs up because the AI sun is up. We haven't quite replaced the sun yet, have we? Generative AI, I've talked about this a little bit, and look, I'm by no means an expert on this. Despite all the articles and all of the videos I've watched in the last 24 hours, I'm still not an expert. But we are striving, or many people in the AI world are striving for full generative AI, which means that it can do everything. It doesn't need your input. It can just continue doing things. This is the whole idea of, the robots making the robots making the robots. Why build a machine and then program it when you can build a machine that makes machines and then get the machine to program the machine? Is it a little bit Terminator 2? Is it a little bit Skynet? Yeah, kind of. But this is kind of what people are hoping for. They're hoping that instead of us saying we need to do protein folding, we need to use this AI to run all of this data so that it can try and cure cancer, the machines will actually just say, oh, we found this, so it's going to lead us to this next thing. And then we found this, and that'll lead us to the next thing. And eventually, we just flick the on switch, and the machines go and do everything and then take over the world. Not quite, but that's kind of the very end game. But what people really want with generative AI is the ability for it to actually do more than what AI is doing right now. Because here's a pause moment. As you probably are aware, with the easiest one to explain this with is text, but all text generation AI is doing, the generative AI is doing, things like ChatGPT, is they're working out what the next most likely or relevant word would be based on the words it's already used. And the reason it's different every time is it throws some randomization in there. So it's not generating the same thing every time, because that's not going to be any good for your homework now, is it? So it's not doing the same thing. It does have an element of randomization. But at the crux of it, at the base level, it is just regurgitating information. And this is why we get things like hallucinations that a lot of people are unhappy about, which are just incorrect information. Hallucinations not only humanizes it, but I think reduces the impact. So you might have heard the news recently about the hallucination that said you should put super glue on your pizza because it'll stop your cheese from falling off. Now, that was because there was apparently a Reddit post that talked about that someone jokingly in context said, I hear super glue's good for sticking pizza toppings on. And clearly you wouldn't do that. Or maybe it's the fact that in those pizza ads, they actually often do use some pretty unedible stuff to create the food so that it looks as good as possible. That's why when you get your hamburger from McDonald's, it looks nothing like the hamburger from McDonald's in the ads, because those ones are constructed carefully using stuff that you probably wouldn't want to actually put in your body. So I say all that to say, we don't want that. We don't want this to be some word generator that's just using these algorithms to generate things. And the same with your artwork. You don't want it just regurgitating, because that's all it's doing at the moment. With music, you don't want it regurgitating unless you're trying to create a song that sounds like the Australian band Regurgitator, in which case you do want it regurgitating. The dad jokes have just got to stop. Where were we? Generative AI. So yeah, the idea here is that we want this to keep, and we've got ChatGPT 3 and 4 and 5. They're continuing to develop this, which of course is using more and more energy, more and more processing power, and generating more and more hype and buzz around the industry, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Now, moral panic around things has been around forever. And one of the videos I watched talked about a topic that I thought was very interesting, and that is that when recording first started, there were people that were like shouting out. It was like, who is it? Philippe Sousa or Jean-Philippe Sousa, the composer. Apparently, he said that the fact that we can now record, people will stop singing, people will stop playing. So he was anti recording music because he said that people would no longer play music. When the electric guitar came out, people were so mad. They were like, that is cheating, amplifying your strings through the use of a pickup and an amplification device. No, acoustic guitars are the only true guitars. These electric guitars are fabrications. They're the devil's plaything. Synthesizers, yeah, no. We're not going to use hammers hitting strings to create sounds. We're going to use synthetic waveforms, and we're going to hook up oscillators, and we're going to hit keys, and they're going to generate these artificial sounds. Everyone was very, very mad. Not everyone, but some people were very, very mad. And it kind of reminds me of where we're at now. That you've got some people that think it's going to be Judgment Day just around the corner and that everything that has AI in it or that mentions AI is the worst and terrible and bad. I don't think we're there. You've got other people that are saying, this is the AI revolution. Everything will be different. We will look back on this moment in time and say, this was the point where everything changed, which I don't think is correct either. I think it's somewhere in between. I think that just like there were still people playing music live and singing, there were still people playing acoustic guitars, there were still people playing the piano, for goodness sake, when all these new technologies came in. Just like there will still be humans creating art. And sometimes it'll be better. I love synths. I love synthesizers. I love cool electronic sounds. There's still nothing quite like, in my opinion, an amazing pianist playing an amazing piano. You put Tim Minchin on a Steinway, and I'm in. You put me on a M Audio key station playing some synth sounds, it's fine. It's fine. And yes, that's a bad comparison, but I don't know any expert synth players. So if you know one that I should go and check out that can really play the synth sounds well, let me know. I'm always keen to check out new things, as we've found out by the fact that I spent 24 hours on AI. Let's talk a little more about things like Suno and Udio and what they are and what's happened with them. So if you're not familiar with these, very few of you would be unfamiliar with them because they've been everywhere. My child came home from school and said, Dad, today the teacher showed us how we can use AI to create our own songs. And I'm like, that's cool and also kind of terrifying. Because it is. It's cool. And it's also terrifying. And it's also crap. And it's also amazing. It can be all those things at once. And it is. So if you've listened to this music, you know what I'm talking about. It creates songs that sound better than what you would think AI can create by typing in a few words and getting a prompt. And what we found out is the reason that it can do that is that it has been scraping a whole lot of music from a whole lot of artists. And you can go and explore. There's a lot of information online about this. There's a lawsuit now from the record companies, and we'll talk about them. Don't worry, record companies, you're not getting off scot-free in this stuff. But there's a lawsuit, and they're basically saying, you can't do this. You're using our artists. You can't use our artists. We want to use our artists, which is the main point that they're getting at with this stuff. So, yeah, there's artificially generated AI music through these platforms. And like everyone, I dived in there, I played around with it, it was cool. It's a novelty. But something doesn't sound right, does it? It's still not quite right. And some people have said, oh, yeah, but this is just, imagine what it's going to be like in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. It's only going to get better. This is the worst it's going to be. Is it though? Is this the worst it's going to be? Or will it get worse because people will double down on it? Because you could say, well, when cryptocurrency came out, when Bitcoin was first released, we didn't know where it was going, but that was the early stages. And then by the time you had all these meme coins and meme stocks and Sam Bankman-Fried and then it got better. No, because unfortunately when things progress, it doesn't only bring out the good people, it brings out the bad people. When pharmaceutical companies develop amazing drugs that help people that are really sick, is it only helping the people that are really sick? No, of course not, because the pharmaceutical companies then go and charge a fortune for it. They get corrupt doctors and people in the medical industry to sell their product for them, and everything is much, much worse. So just saying that this is the start, therefore it's only going to get better from here, is a very one-directional, single-minded view on something that is way more complex than that. And that's the way I look at this. So, are these songs any good? Yes. Are they better than what some people can produce? Yes. Are they better than what a very talented human creator can produce? No. Will they ever be? Maybe. And that's the big maybe. But I would take it back. And again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Does anyone else agree with that? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Some people are like, no, 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 no. Here's the thing, Johns. You got to push the boundaries. You got to see the maximum that you can do. Got to see what the peak potential of something is. Otherwise, you'll never know. You're wasting it if you don't try and do absolutely everything possible with a tool or with a technology. And I don't quite know about that. I don't know if the ends justify the means in that case, because again, thinking about the impact of society, thinking about the impact of the environment, thinking about the impact of people and creators by doing this, it doesn't seem worth it. The end, because what do we get at the end? Is it going to be better music? Because I don't know about you, but I've got human ears. And I think humans know what sounds good to their human ears. And yes, of course, if you have generative AI and machine learning and neural processing, maybe one day those machines can learn as much as a human and they can develop music that sounds really good to the human. Maybe they can do it better. Maybe through the use of a TikTok style algorithm, I can press a button and only music that exactly appeals to my exact neural waveforms will be produced. It'd be like Ben Folds crossed with the Killers, in case you wanted to know. But do I want to listen to that all the time? No. Do I want it only to be? It's like that Twilight Zone episode where the guy's like, a casino where I always win, awesome. And then he's like, a casino where I always win, boring. I love hearing music that challenges me. I love hearing music that I don't like sometimes because it reinforces it. And guess what? Sometimes I'm completely surprised because I listen to music created by someone that's a genre that I'd never listened to, that's a style of music that I'd never listened to, about a topic that I don't really think I cared about. And I love it. And that's why I do shows like Your Music Live here on Studio Live today, because I love being challenged. And I'm a little worried that if we use, it's kind of like the algorithm, like the YouTube algorithms. I sometimes just have to use my human brain to search for something on YouTube and find something completely random. Why? Because the YouTube algorithm is so tuned in to what I watch and what I don't watch, it only presents stuff that's in my wheelhouse. And I don't know about you, but I get a bit bored watching the same home recording, the same vintage tech stuff, the same hockey stuff all the time. I'd like to watch some really interesting videos. The Weird Food channel, I managed to find that, and now I'm watching about the history of all these weird food things. Aviation, I've gotten into plane spotting because I found one channel from some Adelaide guys because one day I wanted to find out, is anyone doing live streams from the Adelaide airport? And there were. And then that opened up a world of people doing plane spotting. So yeah, I think that one of the challenges with AI is that if we think that AI is just going to get better and better and better and reaching towards perfection, I, for one, don't love perfection. I don't want perfection. I've got a sign up there in my studio that says life does not have to be perfect to be wonderful. And what I'm learning more and more as I live more of my life, I'm 45 years in already, is that perfect isn't even fun. And we've seen it time and time again. How many of your favorite musicians and your favorite entertainers and your favorite celebrities are no longer around now because they achieved everything? They were so famous, so successful, had so many people around them telling them they were great all the time, that all that was left was to take way too many drugs and no longer be with us. Look, that's a very simple way of explaining that. I know there's a lot more complexities to that around mental health and physical health and all the rest of it. But yeah, sometimes perfection, or what we perceive as perfection, can be dangerous. It can be boring in its sort of, less dangerous version, or it can generate this world where we're all just getting everything. It's like the opposite of the end of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, where he's like, you know what happened to the boy who got everything he ever wanted? He lived happily ever after. No, you know what happened to the boy who got everything he ever wanted? It really pissed him off. And then at age 27, he decided to no longer live. I know, that's getting a bit bleak and dark, isn't it? By the way, is that the first time anyone's made a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Kurt Cobain mashup analogy about happiness? Probably not. If I can think it, it's probably already been out there on the internet. We've talked a lot about that. So it's time to talk about AI bros. And I do get in trouble when I say AI bros, or before when I used to say crypto bros. But yeah, look, it's mostly dudes. It's mostly bros. And you know exactly what I mean, don't you? When I say AI bros, they're the sort of people that not only get so into a thing that they want to be into it, they want to influence everyone else to be into it too. Not necessarily just because they want it to be cool and they want to seem cool and they want other people to look at them and go, wow, that guy's so cool because he knows all about AI. Yes, that's part of it, the power side, but they also want to shaft people out of their money. They want to work out a way. Have you seen these videos? I watched a couple of them yesterday and they are horrendous. I'm not going to link to any of this stuff. You can go find it yourself. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but all you need to do is say AI YouTube channel strategy. Type that in after this show, type that in and watch what happens. It is horrible. There are people like, hey, all you got to do, see, to get a 6-figure income and release videos at scale. Two big warnings there. Anytime anyone says how many figures your income's going to be or that you can do something at scale, it means here's how to exploit people and shaft people so you make money and other people don't. So they will say, yeah, you get these AI and they generate the text and then they generate the voiceover and then you get another AI and you use that to generate some videos and some stock footage and you throw it all together and you stick it up and it's all shit, but there's so much of it and people don't realize that they're watching stuff that is AI generated until it's too late. And by that stage, you've already got their revenue. And then when people come after you and try and sue you because you've stolen their content, well, then you just create another channel, but you've already got the money from that first channel, and then you shift everything to the other channel. Yeah, it's horrible. And the AI bros are kind of ruining it for everyone. And think about that. Also think about the fact that I feel guilty myself about how much energy I use. To make this video right now, I'm running a mixer, I've got 2 monitors here, I've got my Mac there, I've got microphone, I've got speakers. So I'm using a reasonable amount of energy. Let's say I'm using 50 watts of power to create this video right now. Probably more than that. We've got lighting going on too. Let's say I'm using 100 watts of power to create this video. Someone that is creating an AI video of the same length of 30 to 45 minute video is using a lot more than 60 watts of power. Not their power, but somebody's power, because all of that stuff is being generated. They might be using their phone or their laptop or their iPad, which may be using less power than me. But guess what? All the stuff they're doing is just drawing in power, because every time you hit that button to generate another automated AI voiceover, it has to do all that processing, and that is expensive and that is costly to the environment. So again, I don't care whether you're on the side of the environment or the side of capitalism or somewhere in the between, like most of us, it's costly. It's costly to everything. So just think about that, AI bros. So how do you detect an AI bro? Like I say, they will want you to do stuff, they want to influence you, and they'll always have something to sell you. It'll always be too good to be true. It'll always be a course that's like $47 and you can make a 6-figure income by releasing videos at scale. All of that stuff is BS. You can go and check it out if you want to. If you're like, nah, I reckon Johns is wrong. I would like to make a 6-figure income and I'm going to go and buy an AI bro course and learn how to do this stuff myself. Don't do it. Like I said, I've already explained it. All they'll tell you to do is exactly what I just told you to do. Make a video using AI voiceover, text generation, image generation, and video generation. Pull everyone else's stuff together, call it your own, and chuck that slop up on YouTube. Hope some suckers click on it and you get some ad revenue before the feds come and bust you, by which I mean people put content claims on, and then start again. And yeah, you might do that, but it's a bit like when you get those phone calls from people that are like, oh, we've got this great online investing platform that we'd love to tell you about. And my first response to that is, nah, I think if I was you, I would just use it yourself. I wouldn't spend your time making outbound calls to people like me. If it's got guaranteed passive revenue generation, I think you should just hold on to that, use it yourself, and don't worry about selling it to other people. Because that seems like a stupid idea. Like if you've got the ability to make all this money, why wouldn't you just go do that? They don't like that. They really don't like that. All right. Hearing your song with different voices. So I talked a little bit about AI tools around voice synthesis, and this is somewhere where I'm more on the fence. Clearly I'm anti-bro. Clearly I'm fairly anti-generative AI because of the amount of resources it wastes and the amount it costs. But what about if you're using it in a way where you want to enhance your voice? Or the thing they did with the John Lennon thing, where they got his vocals and were able to extract them out for that song recently, that Beatles song. Is that something? What do you reckon? Is that something that we should be able to do? Or if you want to use I saw a voice synthesizer someone sent me from a company. Again, will remain nameless, but they seemed pretty cool. It was this plug-in that you could just put, and it would use anyone's voice. Hey, great! I can have poor Kurt Cobain again. I'll throw him under the bus one more time. I can have Kurt Cobain singing my song, or a voice that sounds an awful lot like his. Is that okay? And I don't know. I think that if you are doing all the music and all the programming and everything, and you've got this great song, but you don't have access to a real human singer, and you can throw in an AI singer or some voice synthesis to do the singing, is that okay? Would I be a hypocrite if I said you can use a synthesizer to synthesize drums, to synthesize bass, to synthesize key sounds, to synthesize strings, but you can't synthesize voice? I don't know. I'm intrigued by this one. Let me know your thoughts because on Your Music Live, I have and continue to play songs made by really cool creative artists who are using a lot of these voice synthesis to create vocals because they don't have access to a vocalist, or they want to make a vocal that is kind of computer sounding, that's a little bit ethereal, that's a little bit different. So they're using this. So maybe that is something that is cool. I don't know. Let me know. All right, let's talk about the record label, shall we? Let's talk about the big three. And yeah, I'll mention them. Sony, BMG, Universal. Everyone knows that they are the big three. The problem, how do the record labels connect with AI? Well, I talked earlier about the Suno and the Udio. I think I called it Sonio. I call it something different every time. About these AI-generated music platforms being sued by the big record labels. And they're being sued because, again, they've been scraping their artist catalog to actually create the audio that is being used in the AI-generated music, which equal bad, right? You don't want it to do that. The record labels do not want someone to be able to create a song that sounds just like the Black Eyed Peas. They want them to go and buy the Black Eyed Peas album. Or let's be honest, in 2024, they want them to go and stream the Black Eyed Peas on insert name of streaming platform. They don't really care, but preferably Spotify because they own most of that one. We'll talk about that in a minute too. So they want people to be using their music, but they also, if you dig into the weeds, they also have plans. Yeah, they got plans. They also have plans to do their own AI stuff. And we've already seen this. We've already seen that Darth Vader, the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, has already said, yep, I sign off on this. I'm selling the rights to my voice. When I'm no longer around, guess what? Darth Vader still can be because you can use my voice. But he's getting paid for that, which is different. And he's making that personal choice, which is different. What the record labels are looking to do is that they want you to be able to use their artists, to be able to create music that sounds like their artists. Now, whether they give their artists a fair deal on that or not is kind of between the record labels and the artists. If history is anything to go by, no. The record labels and their executives and their shareholders will make a lot of money, and the artists will make some money. A few artists will make a lot of money because that's kind of the way the record industry works these days. Most artists will make very little money. Actually, some artists will make very little money, and most artists will make no money or be in debt to their record label, which is a wonderful thing that we have in this world, isn't it? Where record labels sign people to contracts, give them advances, and then part of the contract deal is if they don't make their money back, they owe the record label. Much more common than you might think. So the record labels, they're not blameless in this stuff, but they want to be involved. They want to be part of the AI. Just as soon as OpenAI started developing ChatGPT, guess who jumped on? Google with Gemini, Meta with whatever they call theirs. All the big companies, Apple have now got Apple Intelligence. All the big companies, of course, want it because it's the hot new thing, and AI music's the hot new thing. Do you think the record labels are going to sit back and let them be blockbustered or let them be Netflixed, I guess would be more accurate? No, they don't. They want to be part of this. So they've got a two-pronged strategy, which is to develop AI music in the background, not be too loud about that because then it looks like they're being hypocritical, but at the same time they're going out and suing the likes of Suno and Udio, which they probably should. So I don't mean to, I'm not all anti that because, yeah, they probably should because it is their property. And even if you think that the way that music ownership works these days, the way that the record labels work is kind of bad, then yeah, it is still what it is because we do live in a capitalist society with laws and with copyright, even if it's not managed the best way. We talked about Spotify. Yeah. So if you don't know, Spotify is partially, or I think almost majority owned these days by the big record labels. They have a lot of sway when it comes to what Spotify do and don't do. It's why it's become so big. It's why it's been non-profitable for so long, but no one really cares because the record labels know that it is popular. That's where people listen to music. That's where people put their money in, and the vast majority of that money goes back to the labels, which is just a thing. But what are they doing around this AI stuff? Well, you might have seen they made some changes a while back to things like, yeah, we no longer want to support things like meditation music and this instrumental background music and yoga music, because what people were doing, see, is that even before AI, they were making songs. They were making like an hour-long albums, like called Yoga Meditation, Hour of Yoga Meditation, and they were chopping it up into 59-second, or no, 29 or 30-second bites, whatever the minimum was. I think it was 30 seconds, 30-second songs. So that one album was like 50 songs of 30 seconds or 100 songs of 30 seconds. And of course, they're getting royalties for each play, So what they've done is Spotify said, no, your songs have to be at least 2 minutes. And they've actually, I got an email this week from someone who was trying to put out a meditation album through DistroKid. And DistroKid had a thing that popped back, said, just so you know, some of the platforms, Spotify, some of the platforms don't really like this sort of stuff and might reject your album just because they don't want it. So, yeah, that's happening not only because of the problem of the streaming and the streaming revenue and the 30-second thing, but because a lot of people have started using AI to create music and then releasing that music as their own to these places like Spotify. Because guess what? If it takes you 6 months to record an album, if you're using AI, you can make a pretty mediocre album in about 60 minutes. You put in a few prompts and you tweak a few things and you download them in their crappy, glorious quality with their artifacts and all, because they don't sound that great, do they? And then you pump them up onto the platforms and you say that they're yours. Yeah, you can do a lot of that sort of thing now. So what are Spotify and other platforms doing to crack down on this? Not a heap. So yeah, you have to, it's a bit like YouTube. YouTube have put in a little checkbox that says, this says altered content in it. And if you put something out with altered content in and don't tick that box, guess what happens? Nothing. I mean, they will try to detect it, and I'm sure that I'm sure there's smart boffins in the back office of Spotify right now trying to use their big boffin brains to work out how do we detect this AI music. And I will say to them, just listen to it. It's not quite right. It's the uncanny valley of music, isn't it? It has that little bit of additional distortion that doesn't quite sound like what someone would actually put in a song. And that little bit of weird artifact bleed because of the way it uses to scrape vocals and drums and bass and guitars and things separately. It has that little bit of artifacty bleed, which is hard to explain, but when you hear it, you know it. It's that sort of thing. So, yeah, Spotify out there. Let's move on. We are moving towards the end here. I want to talk about some things that I actually use that maybe I actually think are cool. And that is things like AI music tools, things like stem splitters, things like plugins, things like AI instruments. These are all things that I actually use when I'm creating music and I think are okay. And the reason I think they're okay is the difference between these and creating AI music with text prompts is these are helping you. These are enhancing your ability to create music. So an AI drum kit where you have a song and then you add a virtual drummer and then you tweak some settings and it's using the smarts of the AI drummer, which, yes, has been programmed by listening to a bunch of real drummers and is using real drum samples, but is just adjusting the patterns. The difference there is that you're going to create something that could be better than what you could do, or at least different from what you would do. If I'm playing drums and I go, doof, 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 I don't know about ghost notes. I don't know about cool paradiddles and all the rest of the drumming stuff. but the AI drummer does, and they can do a much better job. Same with bass playing, same with the AI keyboards, same with things like a stem splitter. If you're doing remixing, being able to pull out a bass, and someone did something really cool where they pulled out the bass line of a song that they, like one of their old songs, and then they put it in as a loop and then sampled and then put stuff over the top. Someone else used Udio or Suno for the same sort of thing. They just found a cool loop that was created by AI, but then they brought it in and then they used their human brain and hands and talent to sculpt it into an actual song. So there's ways, right? There's things that you can actually do with these AI tools. What about sampling AI? Yeah, like same sort of deal. What about using loops and samples out of AI? I don't know. I think that these things are actually okay. Does that make me a hypocrite? I don't know. I think it means that this is a complex world with complex things. The other thing about that is that on device AI, so things like that are already pre programmed. And this is why they're not really AI at all, are they? They're more just automated because they're using on device stuff. So, you know how I said the thing before about making the videos and how much power I'm using? Well, if I'm creating on my iPhone or my iPad and I'm using an auto drummer or I'm using the stem splitter or I'm using some sort of virtual mastering assistant, guess what? It's not going out there and using gigawatts of power from other machines because it's all being done on my device. So it's already in there and it's only using the 10 or 20 watts that I'm drawing at that point in time on my computer or my tablet or my phone to actually create these drum sounds or to do the stem splitting or to do the mastering. So it kind of removes that, and so it's two bonuses in my point of view. Is that bonus number one is you still have to do stuff as the human. You can't just push AI button and make song. Well, you can, but guess what? It'll sound exactly like the default sounds of an AI drummer, an AI bass player, and an AI piano player. And if you played around with the new Logic Pro for iPad, and I have, and videos here on the channel all about it, you've heard that. You know the exact song it creates when you just add the drummer, add the keyboard player, and add the bass player. So until you, as the human, intervene, it's not doing anything. It's an AI, but it's default. It's not changing anything. You are moving sliders, which are then just triggering samples. So it's really no difference from a sequencer. It's really no different from a MIDI keyboard. It's really no difference from a loop or a MIDI pattern that's created that you pull into your tracks. It's just a tool to help you get the job done. So is that, I don't know, is that something? I'm not sure. We've talked about, posthumous voice generation. The only other thing I'll say about that is it was talked about a lot that, people are having people that are no longer with us are having their voices used in things. If they agree to it and if they're getting paid for it, I'm all for it. You know what? You do you. If you want to make that decision, but where it's creepy and where it's gross and where it's wrong is where other people are doing it. And I don't know what you think about this, but if the families of people that are no longer with us want to use their voice, I don't know. I guess it's their prerogative again. If they know that their loved one who's no longer with us was on record as saying they really didn't want that, and then they go ahead and do that, well then they're dickheads, and that's a dick move. But if they didn't have a strong opinion either way, and this can keep that person alive in their hearts, then maybe. So maybe that's a thing. So what is the next? What's next? What's the next generation of AI? What's the next generation of AI music? Where are we going to be in the coming weeks and months and years? When I'm talking to you in 2025, am I going to look back on this and go, how wrong was I? AI music took over the world. We're all just making AI music now. No one's playing the guitar or the piano or drums anymore. No one's singing. No one's arranging their own music. We're all just saying, I want, what happened if Diddy wrote a country song? And then it starts playing that. Is that where we're going to be? I don't know, because I guess that's the most interesting thing about this is that at least something's happening. At least we have something to talk about in the world of music and in the world of technology, because it's been a bit quiet for a while. And if I had my choice between crypto and AI, I'm choosing AI every day and twice on Sunday. So in conclusion, this is the worst it's going to be. I keep coming back to that quote, and again, I forget who I took that from. But if this is the worst it's going to be, if it's going to keep getting better, I think that's interesting, but I think that that's also inherently dangerous. And I think we have to be, if nothing else, aware at the moment. It's the whole know your enemy concept. Like keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. You might be thinking, Pete, it sounds like you don't really dig this AI music stuff. Why don't you just not talk about it? Well, because I want to at least know what's going on. It's the same with crypto. And I wanted to know what was going on, mostly so I could tell my family and friends to not invest in it, because it is a losing model where a small portion of people win and a large portion of people lose. At least AI music doesn't seem like that unless you go by the AI music bro courses, which again, I highly recommend you don't, but you do you. So my conclusion on this is that I have very mixed feelings. I think that AI music is cool and interesting, while at the same time being wasteful and very energy and cost heavy. And I don't think it's as good as what is being created by humans. I personally don't think it will get to that because it doesn't have the heart and the soul. It can't connect with you in the way that a human can. And it can't get two-way feedback, because that's the other thing. I'm going to finish on this. You might have heard me on this channel say create, record, release. And I don't say that just because it's a catchy little catchphrase that I can put on a t-shirt and a mug. I say that because I think the best way to improve is to create, make music, to record it, to get it down, to finish it, and then to release it. When I say release, you don't have to release to the world. Release just means let go of. So share with people. And the reason I think that that last phase and last stage is so important is that that's how you get better and you get feedback back from people. Now, should you be making music for anyone but yourself? No, but also yes, because let's be honest, music is not just for you. Music is a social thing. It's to connect with other people. And I've written some songs that I sort of wrote and went, oh yeah, that's an okay song. And then I get feedback from people saying, this really connected with me. And if I want to then be successful, I can say, all right, so this song that I thought was awesome, I'm still going to make songs like that because I'm doing it for me as well. But this song, other people really connected with it, even though I thought it was really nothing special. So that's going to be the difference, isn't it? That I don't think, even in the best of generative AI, it's not going to be able to do that. And the other part that I mentioned earlier is the surprise factor. I don't know. Because AI is being trained to be the best and to keep improving and be the best that it can be, where's the surprise factor? Where are we going to get something really cool and really different and really interesting when it comes to AI music? And something that I really don't like and really didn't expect and really comes out of left or right field, that's what I think we're going to be lacking with AI music. It is predictable and therefore it's going to be boring. That's my final thing. What do you think, though? I know this is a topic that always generates a lot of discussion, so I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment if you're watching the video version. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up and leave your comments and do all those sort of things. If you're on the audio version, you can find the ways to discuss these with me on all the different platforms, including the Create, Record, Release Facebook group. You can hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, or you can just email me, pete@studiolivetoday.com. I'm very easy to find. That is going to do it for this week's Studio Live Today podcast. And what do we say at the end of each and every show? Be kind to your AI overlords. No, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Keep creating, and I'll see you next time right here on the Studio Live Today podcast.